Hey everyone. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. It's not like strictly physics related, but it is something that could help you in a physics class if you continue taking physics after your high school career. And it's how to use a spreadsheet. How to use it either. I typically do this in Excel if we're in school, but we're going to do it on Google Sheets. They work mostly the same way. So if you have Excel at home and you're using that, you can do that. But Google Sheets has a lot of the same commands. There are some differences, but nothing that's really going to affect what we're doing today. So here's the idea. This is something that's going to help you anytime you want to do a calculation a bunch of different times. Which I know that sounds like really specific, like something you do in physics, but it's something that you would do like in tons of different careers or fields. Like if you have a business and you're like keeping tracks of payment, you wouldn't like recalculate your whole business every time someone paid you. You would like to just kind of like type in a number and then have your like expenses and profits just like sort of print automatically for you. If you were, for example, obviously I'm a teacher, and when I calculate your grades, I think I have like about 100 students a year, and I don't. Every time you submit a test, I don't like recalculate 100 different grades. That would take me hours and hours and hours every day. I just make a spreadsheet, and if you know how to make the spreadsheet, I can just like throw all your grades together right away, and it takes like 2 minutes. So that's what we'll look at today is how you can sort of do this, and it's something that I think you'll find really useful. So you can kind of stick along with this like as far as you feel would possibly be helpful. We're gonna try and look at it in a bunch of different like ways, like things you can do with it, like accounting and if you're grading and stuff like that. So let's go. So we'll break this up into a couple of videos. This will be like sort of the introduction one. I'll go kind of slowly, and then the next one I'll do sort of the second half, maybe a little bit faster. So here's what we're gonna do. As you do this, please keep this instruction sheet with you. It like tells you what to do. If you don't have the instruction sheet with you, probably this, the actual assignment part won't make any sense. Like it's predicated on you reading. I did give you like a couple little hints on the side for each of these. Yeah, so let's go. So let's start with this. Like here's the problem that I guess I'll give you. I've got the spreadsheet, right? It's a bunch of things, and I want you to do let's say we're doing a lab or something, and you have to do the math, and I want you to do all these calculations. I give you a bunch of numbers here. It's just a bunch of odd numbers. I want you to multiply the value in column A by 5, and then divide column A by 2, add 4 to column A, take column B minus column A. And I want you to do all these calculations, and I want you to do it, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it was 16, 17 times. Okay. If you did this by calculator, like if you typed in every one, this should take you like an hour, right? This would take you forever. But if you know how to use a spreadsheet, we can actually get through this very, very quickly. So here's what we're going to do. Let's start with column B. We're going to take the value in column A and multiply it by 5. Okay, so this part isn't super in the instructions here, but for this one, we're just going to complete the data table in the first tab. The table asks you to complete each column of calculations. We're going to walk through this together. So, multiply column A by 5. Now we know that column A, we have a value of 1. And I know that 1 times 5 is 5, so you could just type in 5 and like continue typing in down the whole thing. But I'm not going to do that. So what we can do though is we can tell the computer to multiply that value by 5 instead of doing it ourselves. And here's how we would do this. If you want to start an equation, you have to type equals first. So for all of these, the first thing you're going to see me type is equals. Basically what that's going to do is it's going to take this cell that I'm typing in, and it's going to, like it tells us, like we're going to do an equation this time. Okay, I want to take column A and multiply it by 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it which cell to multiply by 5. And by that I mean, see how we have column A and row 2? So I'm going to take A2, and I want to multiply it by 5. The multiplication symbol is the asterisk. That's like shift 8. And then we're going to multiply it by 5. Cool. So what I did is A2 times 5, meaning take the value that's in cell A2 and multiply it by 5. I'm going to hit enter. And, okay, we know that 1 times 5 is 5, so it looks like we didn't mess this up, which is good. But that seemed like more work than just writing in the number 5, right? And here's why this would be helpful. You can continue typing in, like 3 times 5 would be 15, 5 times, you could keep doing this. Or, and here's the important part, the reason that spreadsheets are helpful. Click on the one we just put in, and you see this little, like, blue square thing that's on the bottom right, and how my cursor changes to this giant like black cross shape when I hover over it, just click that and drag it down. And what it does is it fills in the whole column for you. You're all done, which is great. And you can sort of double check your work. 5 times 5 is 25. 21 times 5 is 105. So this all worked really well. So when you drag it down, basically what it does is it copies and pastes that equation in each row, according to what you want it to do. And that's it. So again, that should have taken you, multiplying numbers by 5 is fairly quick, but this is still like 5 to 10 minutes worth of work that, if you type it in, that was like, 4 keystrokes? So let's keep going. Divide column A by 2. Well, column A is, every time we do an equation, we start with equals, and we're going to take column A and divide it by 2. So I want to take cell A2 and divide it by 2. So the division is just the slash, hit enter. And again, check your work. 1 divided by 2 is in fact 0.5, so we did this right. Drag down, done. And again, 5 to 10 more minutes worth of work, over. Add 4 to column A. So that's A2, right? That's, oops, I forgot the equals sign. Equals A2. And we're going to add 4 to it. So we're going to do plus 4. All right, 1 plus 4 is 5. Okay, we got 5, so that means we did it right. Click, hover over this box, drag down. Column B minus column A. Okay, so we want to take this number right here and do that minus this number right here. Okay, this cell is B2, so I'm going to do equals B2. And then we're going to subtract this one right here, which is A2. Notice it highlights each thing that you typed in, like B2 got highlighted here, and then A2 got highlighted here. Helps you kind of see that you're using the right boxes. Sure enough, 5 minus 1 is 4, so we did this right. Click, drag, done. Square column E. Okay, so for the exponents, they're a little trickier. If you're not sure what to do, I do have it in the instructions here. If you scroll down this, instructions sheet that I have, on the back, I made you a quick little reference sheet. So like for exponents, we're going to use this caret, which is shift 6, to create an exponent. So for example, 2 caret 3 would be equivalent to 2 cubed. So I've got some quick ones here. Also, you could Google it, show up in my office hours if you're not sure what to do here. So we're going to take column E and square it, which means we're going to do equals first. Always equals first for these equations. We're doing E2, and we're going to square it, raise it to the second power. Okay, and 4 squared is 16, so I like this number. Click and drag, and again, this should have taken you a lot of time, but we're all done already. Sum of columns A through F. Now, here's a neat one. There's 2 different ways so you can do this. You can type in, the sum means we're going to add all the numbers. So equals, you could do A2 plus B2 plus C2 plus, and you could kind of keep going like that. Which for 5 numbers isn't like the end of the world, but imagine you were trying to add together 100 numbers. You wouldn't type like A2 plus B2, like you wouldn't keep going for 100 times. That would take you forever. So Excel does have some, and Google Sheets has some basic sort of functions built in. So here I gave you one, and if you're interested, if you're not sure if Google has one of like a function for what you're trying to do, you can just kind of search it on the internet and see if you can find one. But basically, anytime you're doing something that feels repetitive, Excel probably has a workaround for it. So what I'm going to do is there's a sum function. So I'm going to type in the word sum, open up parentheses. So here I've got like equals sum, and I open up parentheses. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight everything I want to take the sum of, which is all of these ones right here. And notice they change color so I can see that I did it right. And then I'm just going to close my parentheses. So here we go, take out the sum of all of these numbers, just hit enter. Cool. And that's all of these numbers added together. And then I'm just going to click and drag. Done. Okay, so again, like I said before, this should be like an hour's worth of work. We walked through it slowly, and it still only took us a few minutes. Moving forwards, I'm going to have you try some of these like on your own. I have these little checkboxes programmed in. Don't play around with those. Basically, if they turn green, then you're all set and you did it right. So it's like a way for you to check yourself If they're not green, then something went wrong. Okay, so that's kind of the basics. There's a bunch of these along the bottom. I'd like you to click on Intro 2 and pause the video at this point and try this on your own. Like, try and fill these all out. See if you can get this little checkbox to turn green when it's all done. It's worth pointing out that here I gave you the square root thing. It's equals SQRT, and then in parentheses, put whatever it is you want to take the square root of, like the name of the cell. So pause the video and just give this a shot. It's kind of the same as before, just going to do all of these calculations. Alright, I'm hoping you took that break to pause and give it a shot. So one more time, we're doing like, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 by 16, that's 80 plus calculations that we're doing. And if you know what you're doing, it takes you, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes. So let's go. We want the square root of column A, so we're going to do equals SQRT. How would you know to do that? I kind of told you. There's a lot of features, there's a lot of different commands here. As you use them, you get used to them, and then you remember them. But if you're not sure, you can look them up online, or I do have them sort of here at the end. Okay, we want the square root of column A, so I'm going to do the square root of cell A2. What's the square root of 1? 1. Drag down. Done. And again, you can kind of check numbers that you know, like the square root of 25 is 5, the square root of 9 is 3, so it looks like we did this right. Cool. Divide column B by 3, so equals, I want to take column B, that's this cell right here, B2. It's worth pointing out, if you click on one of the cells, it'll type in that cell value for you. We're going to divide it by 3. Drag. Square column F. Now this brings up a point that I wanted to sort of bring up. We're going to square column F, so we're going to take equals. We're going to take this cell right here, that is F2, and we're going to square it. And it says 0, and the reason for that is there's nothing here. There's like no value in this to square. So all of them say 0. But we're going to actually circle back to this. So I'm going to leave this for now, and we'll come back to it. Multiply column C by 3. Okay, equals, we want to take this right here, and we're going to multiply it by 3. Great. Click, drag. Alright, column F. So we're going to add 8 to column A. So I'm going to do equals A2, which is, again, this right here. And we're going to add 8. Okay, 1 plus 8 is 9, so this looks good. Now, something that happened here is, you see how as soon as I filled in column F, column D, like, has a value in it now. 9 squared is 81. So if you like have it reference a cell or like a bunch of cells that aren't filled in yet, it'll update as soon as you fill them in. So like I'm going to drag this halfway down, and notice half of them fill in. Which is kind of neat, because that means what you can do is you can set up your calculations before you put them in. I do this for grades. Like I set up your grade book before I put the grades in. That way, as soon as I type in the grades, everything shows up, and we're all good. Multiply columns A and F, so equals, that's, I think we're going to do A2 times F2. And click, drag. Alright, my checkbox turned green, which I set up for you, meaning that this went well. Cool. One last thing I do want to point out, actually, before I move on, is another reason this is really good is it's easy to fix your mistakes. Meaning, like, let's say that you were doing a lab or something, and you multiplied by the wrong column. You multiplied by, row E, like this. One of the reasons Excel is really nice is, like, let's say my checkbox didn't turn green. Something went wrong. Now, if this were like a calculator where you had to do everything one at a time, you'd have to do, like, all of your calculations over again. With Excel, we don't have to, because I can go here. I noticed that I used column E instead of F, meaning, like, see how I said A and F? If I accidentally type in column E, that's a really easy fix. I'm just going to change that to F2, hit enter, click, and drag, and the whole thing will fix itself. Which makes this really helpful, because again, a mistake doesn't mean starting over, a mistake just means you fix what you typed in, and you're all good. This is the last one I'm going to do for this video, and then I'll have you guys sort of like, in a separate video, I'll just kind of like walk through the rest of them a little bit more quickly. So, again, you can use this for tons of different applications, which I have later on in the next video, but this is a physics class, so we're going to start out with some physics ones. If this were during the year, I'd make you find the equations, but yeah, I feel bad for you guys at this point. So here's the equation. Let's say you do a lab, you have the mass of an object, you have its velocity, and you want to calculate its momentum. Hopefully you remember, momentum is equal to m times v, mass times velocity. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the mass times the velocity, which for this object was b2 equals b2 times the velocity of c2. Cool, that's mass times velocity. And again, click, drag, awesome, done. So again, this is at least a few minutes worth of work that I think we did in 10 seconds. So for the rest of these, what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to put them in a separate video, but try them on your own. Meaning, like I gave you the equation, just try filling in the data. The next couple are physics related, and then I tried to sort of sprinkle in some like other things that, you know, just to try and illustrate that this is helpful for things beyond physics. So if you're doing them and you're having trouble, check out the next video where I'm going to kind of run through it and show you what to do. And just like I said before, please, 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 make sure that you are reading the instructions as you go, because it does have some important information to help you finish this.